welcome to Book Club Preview. Today we're looking at Socrates Express, How to Wonder Like Socrates. And it starts off with, the author just talking about how trains are kind of a metaphor for a train of thought. You think of one thing and it connects to another thing and it connects to another thing. And it always seems to go on, just like a train in connection. And it doesn't stop. He then goes in to talk about going to visit this very famous philosopher, Jacob Needleman. And as he's talking with Jacob Needleman, he asks about questions. And Jacob Needleman says, questions are something you need to experience. Experience questions? What do you mean? Can you experience questions? And Jacob said, Socrates experienced questions. It's like, whoa, really? And then he jumps in and describes how Socrates had kind of this crazy wisdom that was really different than other kind of wisdoms. And he goes in and spends the rest of the chapter really getting into that, which is a lot of stuff. I'm going to be skipping a lot, but I just want to hit some targets that I found really interesting and maybe broad points. One was Socrates' friends. He has a friend, he's Chirifon? I'm not too sure. But this friend goes to an oracle of Delphi. Okay, remember, this is, 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, whenever. And the Greek culture, they had gods that they worshipped. And there was one temple where there's an oracle, someone who could tell your future or know the answers to things. And that person was called an oracle. And in this one temple, the oracle to Delphi, you could go and give money or do a sacrifice or whatever and ask a question. And so Socrates' friend says, is there anyone more wise than Socrates in Athens? And the oracle said, no, there isn't. Whoa! So Socrates' friend goes and tells Socrates, man, guess what? You're the wisest person in Athens. And Socrates, I think, was a smith or, a stonecutter. And when his friend told him that, he's like, wow, really? Well, maybe it's true. And then Socrates just goes on this quest for maybe a full-time quest towards wisdom. Because he still thought very much, and obviously his friend thought he was wise to go ask a question. But that really targeted Socrates' lifestyle, I think. I'm not sure. But man, I just thought that one question his friend asked, and it changed the direction of Socrates. Wow, what if he never asked that question? Would we still have philosophy like we do now? Man, it was just pretty huge. But one of the things that Socrates really wanted to focus in on as philosophy connects to our life. Yeah, it's nice to think about these. What is the universe made of? How do things work in the universe? Which back then was almost the beginnings of science. But Socrates wanted to ask, what makes a good life? What is a life worth living? Why are we here? And these deep personal life questions. And he would just ask questions. He would go to a general and say, what is courage? General say, oh man, I don't know what courage is. He'd go to a poet and say, what is poetry? And the poet said, oh man, I don't know what makes poetry, what is poetry. But Socrates asked questions. That's one of his really famous things. And his style, they call it I think it's didactic style, inductive style, pulling out these answers from other people. Usually teachers, they have like didactic style? I can't remember the words now, but it's giving information to you. Inductive is you having questions that the answer comes out of you. And so that's what Socrates really started, that style. Asking questions, you think, you answer. Asking questions, you think, you answer. Asking more questions, you think, you answer. There's a bunch of stories I'm skipping here. But asking questions, there's a difference in asking questions for information. And the author says, he asks Siri, Siri, what is a question? And Siri answers, and it's kind of silly. But he goes and he talks about, well, there's difference between a question that gives information, how old are you, maybe for example, and a deeper question, which is, I think he gives the example of chocolate. How do you make chocolate? Okay. Why do I enjoy this chocolate? Okay, that's a different question, right? But the deeper question that is targeting meaning, and that's what Socrates is looking for, and certainly what we wonder about. And then he starts talking about wonder. A good question makes you wonder. Oh man, that's a good question. And you want to chew on it and think about it. And yeah, maybe you can get an answer really fast, but you don't want to. You just want to enjoy that question a little bit. And Socrates is kind of the king of wondering. And he even shares a story of, I think Socrates was in a war at this time, in a battle, but maybe they were marching and there was some time, and he just sat there and he had a question and he stopped and he just thought about this question. And it was lunchtime and he didn't move and he's thinking about this question. And then people made a bed kind of around him and were just watching him, wondering how long he'd stay there. And he's just thinking about the question. And he stands there all day, all night. And then the sun comes up and Socrates says, "Oh, thank you, sun," or something like that. And then goes off on his way. He just stood in one spot, wondering, thinking. And a good question can make you wonder. And, oh, sorry, a little bit hard to see here. He goes into his personal life a little bit and thinks about, like, man, a good question is like, how do you become a good father? I want to be a good father. And Socrates was asked, what is a father? A father is someone who loves a child. Oh, what is good then? Oh man, what? Oh, and he answers these questions from Socrates. But Socrates also gets into this idea of virtue. If you are to really know what a virtue is, kindness, generosity, love, self-sacrifice, courage, patience, these things we consider virtues. To really know what a virtue is to live it. Because once you know that virtue and how good it is and how great it is and how much it can impact the world, you would naturally just do it. And so all bad things that we do are simply because of ignorance. And if you have the knowledge and if you take the time to really ask the questions, it'll lead to virtue. And virtue is an action of your life. So being a good father, if you knew what a good father was, you would do it and you would be it. Or wife, or husband, whatever. The author asks his daughter, is there any stupid question? And the daughter thinks, yes, a question that you already know the answer to. Whoa! Man, that was an amazing answer, daughter. And he says, yeah, you know what? Oftentimes we ask questions that we already know the answer to. We don't really challenge ourselves with dangerous questions. Questions that make us wonder who we are, where we're going in life, what we're doing, why we're doing it. Oh my goodness, dangerous questions. Wow. And philosophy has some kind of therapy aspect to it as it asks these dangerous questions and causes you to think more deeply and to grow into yourself. And ultimately, good philosophy, good questions target meaning, deeper meaning into life. And I think he gives another story of Jacob Needleman talking about his friend. And he loved his friend, and they would sit outside and they would just talk and ask questions to each other, philosophical questions, and just think and be silent together. And his friend, unfortunately, died of leukemia. But when his friend died, he just started to really ask these deeper questions of meaning. Why did my friend die and not me? What does it mean to live a good life? And what is death? And you started asking these different questions, and that really led Needleman to a different kind of life than his mom certainly wanted him to live. And it goes back into Socrates. And it says Socrates kind of challenged people, pulling deeper meaning and asking dangerous questions. And he was like a torpedo fish, which now I kind of think like an electric eel or something. A fish that kind of zapped you and made your brain numb because the questions. And he gives an example of a 5-year-old. Why? My daughter is 6, and she would go through that phase of asking why. And man, it is so tough to actually give really good answers. We want to just say because, just whatever. But to just keep answering and keep answering and keep answering until my daughter stops asking why. Oh man, that was one of the most challenging things for me. But something that I personally learned through philosophy. But, Socrates was kind of like that torpedo fish of keep asking why, keep going deeper, keep pulling back the layers of importance. And he gives some examples of some people encountering Socrates and getting angry, and I actually think these descriptions are really funny because it's like Socrates grabs onto you and he just shakes you until there's nothing left, and then he leaves you empty and just, I don't know, naked pretty much, just wandering around like, what just happened to me? And this is kind of what Socrates does. That was my own example, not in the story. But that's just kind of how I thought of it. And some people were pretty angry and say, I love the ones like, I don't understand you, Socrates. Argue with someone who does understand you because you just keep beating me up and I'm tired and I need to go away, but you won't let me go away until I'm completely defeated. And just asking these deeper questions, what they love. The author links, oh my goodness, Socrates to an optometrist. An optometrist is a doctor that helps you see better by giving you glasses. Socrates could see more clearly, and he was trying to help people see more clearly by asking them questions. And he says, the unexamined life is not worth living. If you don't ask your life questions, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? It's not worth living. You gotta look deeply and think deeply and give yourself time, patience, silence, to wonder. And with Jacob Needleman, they also talk about this, how people always want to answer questions and not just enjoy chewing on the questions. Somehow the chapter ends with him, examining his life. What was it? He's on a train in Athens. I can't remember. But anyways, let's go to vocabulary because there's a bunch of these too. Slowed his gait. Gait is like a walk, pace, speed. Slowed it down. Impiety is like sin or bad habits, something like that. Idiosyncrasies are these small things that we do that are unique to us. It could be like chewing your fingernails, playing with your hair, or your eyeball twitching. I don't know. Each person has these small different things that they do that you can recognize. Oh yeah, that's you. You do that thing. Maybe you can recognize me doing something. Desperate, disparate, not desperate, disparate means simplifying, bringing together, shrinking down, kind of summary. Ostracism is to be kicked out of a group, to be separated from the group. Ignorance is to just not know something, to not know. Zest is like spice or flavor, but it could also be like energy. So when you eat something spicy, you're like, woo! That also that aspect of life, that woo of life, zest. A gadfly is a fly that bites, and so it's very annoying. And Socrates was very annoying. Synonymous means same, like, each other, similar. Few more here, sorry. Trivialities, things that aren't important. Superfluous, also things that aren't important. Conflate. Oh man, I can't remember this one. I might remember it in a second, but let's go to the next one. Decelerate is to slow down. Paunch is like a fat in your stomach, stomach fat. Think of like a father or a grandpa. Usually their stomach comes out. We call that a paunch. Obfuscation. There we go. When someone doesn't know the answer to something, they will obfuscate. They will have a cloud or use heavy, big language or words to distract you from them from realizing that they don't know the answer. And so they use big words to blur your vision, and that's what it means to cloud up your eyes. But we use this skill when we're talking about something we don't know, to trick the people so they don't know we're ignorant. And conflate. Oh, man, I'm sorry, I can't remember that one. I would love for you to define that and throw it into the vocabulary for me. Sorry about that. But these are some I actually had to look up too. That was one of them. Why I added it in here, but I forgot the answer. Sorry. Let me finish off with our discussion question. Oh, this is how the story ends. He asks himself, what does success look like? And he kind of talks about it and walks through that journey. But I want to ask you, what does success look like to you? Of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.